wanting more. Hare Krishna, Neetu Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining early morning, mid-morning, and also chanting. Thank you for your association. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves?
Hare Krishna, Vinita Kandari Mataji, Danvat Pranam, Balavrinda, Danvat Pranam to all Vaishnava. Thank you, Niharika Mataji, for such a nice chanting every day. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and encouraging all of us. Yes, Mataji, Niharika Mataji's chanting is so nice, pleasing for ears. She chants it very slowly.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Hare Krishna, Balavrinda. Please accept my humble obeisances and request to Srila Prabhupada. This is Shama Gauri Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Sham Gauri Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and giving your association, and thank you for your service, Mataji, in the mid-morning call also. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please announce, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisance, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and assembled devotees. This is Shashidhar joining from Texas. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Shashidhar, Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nice to hear your voice, Prabhu. I see sometimes you are there in the early morning chanting. Please do join us regularly, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? I don't see still Prabhuji on the call. Sacipran, Gaurahari, Sacipran, Gaurahari, Prabhu.
Can I sing Hare Krishna Bhai then?
Okay, sing.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Jai Ho Balavrinda.
Okay.
Not able to hear better.
Okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam, all glories to Srila
Hare
Prabhupada. Thank you so
Krishna.
much, Mataji, for joining in.
Maya, can I sing?
Hare Krishna, Balavrinda.
Hare Krishna,
Better.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Jai Ho.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We follow you. Hare Krishna.
Oh, so nice tune,
Hare
Balavrinda. Very
Hare
nice.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Jai
Hare
Ho.
Hare,
Dhanvad.
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you, Balavrinda. Thank you so much. Prabhuji came. We'll start the recording here. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Sacipran Gaurahari Prabhu to enlighten us on the topic of Sri Caitanya Bhagavata Adi Khanda, 9th chapter 225, verse starting from 225 to 229. Before I hand over the call to Prabhu, I would like to read today's quote of Srila Prabhupada. 28 July, every individual being must have his opinion. That is the significance of individuality. But all such differences of opinion must coincide in Krishna. Letter to Mandali Bhadra, July 28, 1969. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your valuable time and association this morning. We are very fortunate to have you on the call. Please take over the call, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Is my audio okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. My gratitude to Preeti Vilasini Mataji for giving me this opportunity to speak today, little Harikatha. And thank you all of you for joining to hear Chaitanya Bhagavat very eagerly. I know all of you are very regular. I don't join these calls much, but I really appreciate this opportunity. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all the scriptures, Upanishads, Puranas, everywhere, the one thing that is highlighted is Sadhu Sangha, the importance of Sadhu Sangha. In Chaitanya Charitamrita also,
Prabhuji, we can't hear you now. I don't know.
Yes, Prabhu.
It was there till now. No, Prabhuji, we can't hear you.
okay, is this okay now, Mataji?
Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
hear me?
Now it is coming, Prabhu. Now it is coming.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mola Hoi Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Prema Janme Teho Puna Mukyanga. Mahaprabhu says that the Mula, the root cause of Krishna Bhakti Janma, for Krishna Bhakti to arise in our heart, the root cause is Sadhu Sangha. Only in the association of devotees, the desire to perform Krishna Bhakti arises, awakens. And then Mahaprabhu continues to say, Krishna Prema Janme Teho Puna Mukyanga. Even after the desire to serve Sri Radha Krishna, even after it arises in our heart, when the love awakens in our heart, still, even after that also, what is the Mukyanga? What is the important limb? The main limb? It is Sadhu Sangha. So it's very important that we take advantage of this Sadhu Sangha, whether through books, Srila Prabhupada's books, or whether through the lectures, whether through these conference calls. These calls help us in staying connected to the path of bhakti. These calls remind us of our goal. And in case if we are making any mistakes, we can learn through this association. We can improve and we can make progress in our devotional life, ultimately towards our goal of bhakti, which is Krishna Prema. And in these associations, if we are not learning anything, or if we are not gaining anything, or if we are not improving in our bhajan, in our sadhan, then there is a problem. We have to analyze where the problem is. Mahaprabhu also says in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Sadhu Sangha hoite hoi Shravana Kirtan, Sadhana Bhakti hoi Sarvanartha Nivartan. So in this Sadhu Sangha, we get encouragement to perform our bhajan, to hear, to sing, to chant, to read. We get encouragement to perform all of these activities. And then as we perform these activities, then what should happen? Sarvanartha Nivartana. All our anarthas in our heart, all the contaminations, all the unwanted things that are in our heart, Nivartana, should slowly keep going away. And if that does not happen, if our anarthas are not going, if our anarthas are still increasing, or if we are not developing taste to perform our bhajan, then we have to analyze. So, because, we have very short time. We cannot live forever. We all know that. So, if not in these associations, if not through these lectures, if not through these conference calls, through our reading, through our hearing, if we don't improve, then we have to sit back and take guidance from our superior Vaishnavas to understand where we are going wrong. So we should use this time very wisely. So with that brief introduction, I will offer Mangalacharan prayers and we will start our class today. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swat Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Harer Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau Nasti Eva Gatiranyada Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangun Langayate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Pramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna. Once again, I am not at all qualified to speak on this high scripture, very high exalted scripture, Chaitanya Bhagavat, but by the instruction of Preeti Vilasini Mataji, I will try to attempt to speak a few words. We are reading from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Khanda, chapter 9, verse 225. Eta parihare oe papi ninda kare tabe lati maro tara shirera upare. Translation: Therefore, I kick the head of any sinful person who disregards the glories of Lord Nityananda and dares to criticize him. Purport: the word parihara means to rectify the faults, or to drop the charges, or to pray, or to offer, or to abandon, and to neglect. In order to permanently stop the continual irreverence towards the Supreme Lord by those hellish people who enviously criticize Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and to render them eternal benefit and good sense, the author is ready to kick them in the head. By this statement of the most merciful Sri Thakur Mahashaya, to the staunch atheist, the transcendental goddess of learning, Shuddha Saraswati displays the firm attachment of a servant towards his master, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, thus teaching everyone through illuminating words that although Thakur Mahashaya and other pure devotees who act and preach in his footsteps are detached from those who are extremely uninterested in their own welfare, who are determined to run towards self, and who are ignorant of the truth regarding Sri Nityananda. They are nevertheless selflessly and causelessly merciful towards the fallen souls. While Sri Thakur Vrindavan, who is a Vaishnava Acharya, the direct incarnation of Vyasa and servant of Sri Nityananda, enacts his pastime of transcendentally kicking. If even one particle of dust falls on the head of some fortunate persons, they will certainly achieve auspiciousness. In other words, their anartha nivritti or freedom from unwanted things is guaranteed. The exhibition of such great compassion by Sri Vishnu or the Vaishnavas is beyond the imagination or intelligence of the foolish non-devotees who cannot discriminate between what is favorable and what is unfavorable for their own welfare. The all auspicious endeavors and behavior of the preachers and practitioners of pure devotional service to Gaura Krishna, who follow in the footsteps of Thakur Sri Vrindavan, who is the direct incarnation of Sri Vyasa, display on the one hand gross punishment on the fallen ever living entities, and on the other hand subtle unlimited compassion on them. Therefore, I kick the head of any sinful person who disregard the glories of Lord Nityananda and dare to criticize him. So we know Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he represents Akhanda Guru Tattva. And for us to make progress on path of bhakti, Guru is very important. Shri Guru is very important in our life. So here, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he is saying that he will kick the head of any sinful person who disregard the glories of Lord Nityananda and dare to criticize him. So imagine, we hear so much about Vaishnava Aparad. Now, more than Vaishnava, Guru Aparad is even more dangerous. And then, and Nityananda Prabhu, who is Akhanda Guru Tattva, imagine criticizing him or ridiculing him or disregarding the glories of Nityananda Prabhu. It is greatly sinful. So devotees are very merciful. They want to deliver everyone. And there are several ways in which devotees can be, common man can be delivered. One, in the end, in the purport we see that one is through compassion and another is through this gross punishment of kicking on the head by the feet of a devotee, being kicked on the head by the feet of a devotee. Because in the purport we see that the dust of a devotee is very powerful. It is explained that the devotee may forgive one's offense, but the dust of a devotee does not. The dust of a devotee and Lord Krishna do not forgive the offense towards a devotee. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see in the 4th canto specifically, while Narada Muni is instructing the Prachetas, Narada Muni recites a beautiful verse. He says, in context of how to perform bhakti and how to please Lord Krishna, Narada Muni says, Dayaya sarva bhuteshu santushta yena kenava sarvendriyopashantyacha tushtati asu janardana. So how can one please Ashu quickly? How can one please Lord Janardana quickly? It is several qualities are explained, and one of the important one is Dayaya sarva bhuteshu. A devotee is merciful to all living entities, sarva bhuteshu. On similar lines, even in the 3rd canto also, we see when Lord Kapila is instructing Mother Devahuti on the process of bhakti. Lord Kapila also highlights the qualities of a sadhu. He says, what are the qualities of a sadhu? And actually he says, these are the ornaments of a sadhu. A sadhu does not wear golden jewelry or diamond necklace or whatever, ornaments. He does not. But he is actually having a lot of important ornaments. And what are they? Lord Kapila explains. He says, Titikshva karunika suhruda sarva dehinam ajata kshatrava shanta sadhava sadhu bhushanaha. He says, these are the bhushan, these are the ornaments of a sadhu. And there are several ornaments that Lord Kapila explains, but one of the important ones relevant to our context today is Suhruda Sarvadehina. And then Karunika. He is very merciful. Titikshva Karunika. Titikshva means tolerance, Karunika is merciful. So he's very merciful. And then Suhruda Sarvadehina. He is Suhrud. He's the best friend. He's the best well-wisher of all the living entities. So even Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that Krishna is the well-wisher of all living entities. He's the best, topmost well-wisher of all the living entities. So a devotee, he is very merciful to all living entities. especially to the fallen souls. A devotee, Srila Prabhupada explains that a devotee is not just concerned about himself. He's not just thinking of his own liberation. He does not think that I have received the mercy, I have received the Mahamantra, I have received a guru, I've received all the scriptures, I know the path to go back to Godhead, so now I'm done. I will just sit in some corner and I will just practice my bhajan. There are devotees like that, but generally a devotee is preaching. A devotee goes out to preach and improve the lives of others, help others come to the path of bhakti. He does not just think of himself only. And it is also explained he is a well-wisher of all the living entities. So what does that mean? That means that he is well-wisher of not just human beings. He is well-wisher of the animal society as well. That is why Lord Kapila says, Suhruda Sarva Dehina. Dehi means one who is in the body, right? One who takes a body. Deha means body. Dehi means one who takes the body. So there are various types of body. We know various species. So Suhruda Sarva Dehina. A devotee is Suhrud of, well-wisher of all the embodied living entities, not just human beings. We see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Shivananda Sen, the great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, he took care of a dog. I mean, he was constantly making sure the dog is fed, and prasadam, that too, not just leftovers or spoiled food. He was giving the dog prasadam to eat, and by that he treated the dog transcendentally. So similarly, we see this in various, not just in our Vedic fold, but also in Christianity. We see how Lord Jesus Christ was crucified. He did not do anything wrong, but he was crucified. Similarly, Namacharya Haridas Thakur, Srila Haridas Thakur, he was beaten with canes in 22 marketplaces. And I've heard in several lectures that even to withstand the beating in one market is very difficult, because those canes are very strong and sharp, and being hit by them, it hurts so much. But Srila Haridas Thakur, he tolerated beatings in 22 marketplaces. And same way, even our Nityananda Prabhu also, our Nitai, he was attacked by Jagai and Madai. Nityananda Prabhu was bleeding profusely. But none of these devotees revolted against their perpetrators, against the people who were causing harm to them. They did not revolt. They were all tolerant. Titiksha. They were all tolerant. And they were actually merciful towards, everyone was praying for their, for the people who were hurting them. Jesus Christ, Haridas Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu, all of them were tolerant, and they were actually merciful towards the people who were inflicting suffering, pain on them. Why is this? Our Acharyas explain, it is because a devotee's mission is to deliver the fallen souls. They want to deliver the fallen souls. And if they revolt, or if they become angry with the devotees, then what will happen? The person will not be delivered. Because if a devotee becomes angry, Krishna will not protect such a person. Krishna will not give shelter to such a person. So that's why we should always try to be careful not to displease devotees. So another beautiful example that we see in Krishna Leela, we heard of this pastime, so I won't elaborate. Maya Danava, the demon Maya, he has some siddhis, and with that he was very good at architecture, creating wonderful buildings, wonderful things, wonderful aeroplanes. He was very good at such art, and due to some events, Lord Krishna wanted to kill this demon. And if Krishna wants to kill, can anyone protect? No. Mare Krishna Rake Krishna Mareke. So if Krishna wants to kill somebody, nobody can protect. But in this case, what happened? this demon, he took shelter of the great devotee Arjuna. And as soon as Arjuna took this demon under his shelter, Krishna also stopped chasing this demon. This demon was protected. This demon was not killed. Why? Because Arjuna, who is a merciful devotee, he gave shelter to this demon. So that is why our acharyas explain that devotees are more merciful than the Lord. Okay, devotees are more merciful than the Lord. And in devotional service, actually the mercy of a devotee is more valuable than the mercy of the Lord. So we have to always seek the mercy of devotees. So also in this case, it is Srila Prabhupada explains. Also in this case, Srila Prabhupada explains that Lord Krishna, after seeing that this Maya demon, he took shelter of Arjuna, Lord Krishna was very pleased. And what did he do? He actually engaged this demon in the service of King Yudhishthira. And he instructed this demon to build a nice palace for the Pandavas. So see, by the mercy of devotee, we get the mercy of Krishna. And by the mercy of Krishna, we get the mercy of service of devotees. So like that, it's a cycle. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya aprasadan nagati kutopi. By the mercy of devotees, we get mercy of Krishna. And yasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. And if we don't get the mercy of devotees, then there is no gati. There is no path forward for us. We will be lost. So we should always try to beseech the mercy of devotees. And by the mercy of devotees, we get mercy of Krishna. And especially in this verse, the lotus feet dust of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is highlighted. So we all know this very verse, this verse that is quoted often. Bhakta pada dhuliyar bhakta pada jal, bhakta bhukta avashesha teen mahabal. We hear this verse so many times. It is explained that there are three things that give strength to us in our bhajan. What are they? We have to understand these are teen mahabal. These give strength to our devotion. It's not that these are one and all. It's not that by getting one of these three that we will get Krishna Prema. It's not like that. It is we get strength to perform our bhajan. What are they? Bhakta pada dhuli, the dust of the lotus feet of a devotee. Bhakta pada jal, the water that has washed the feet of a devotee. And then bhakta bhukta avashesha, the prasadam remnants, maha prasad of a devotee. These three are powerful substances. Mahaprabhu says that these three are very powerful substances. So, but our acharyas also explain that yes, these three are important. But more important than these three are to follow the instructions of a devotee. Srila Prabhupada said this in many times, many places, and also my Guru Maharaj also says this many times. More important for us to do is to follow the instructions. If we follow the instructions, then the Guru will naturally be pleased. Our acharyas will naturally be pleased. One may serve a superior Vaishnava physically, staying very close. But if he is not following the instructions, then actually that service may backfire. So more important for all of us is to serve the superior Vaishnava by following their instructions. See, we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada, even in the life of our other acharyas, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, so many places we see. For example, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring in South India, a devotee was along with him. So I'm sure this devotee must have gotten the dust of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He must have had the remnants of Mahaprabhu. But what happened? He got distracted. Same way, even in the life of Srila Prabhupada also. So many devotees, that have served Srila Prabhupada very closely, personally, they got distracted. So what do we understand from these instances? So Krishna is trying to teach us that taking the remnants, taking the food dust, taking the charnamrut of a devotee, these in itself are not sufficient. Individually, we have to do our bhajan. We have to individually follow the instructions. One acharya, one devotee, senior devotee, was explaining that, let's say we have a dirty floor. We clean it, wipe it, mop it, but then again we put dust on it, dirt on it. Then what will happen? The floor will become dirty again. So he was explaining that when we get these remnants of a devotee, or when we get the food dust of a devotee, or when we take dip in holy rivers, these all give encouragement. These all help us in making progress. But after doing this, if we do durachar, if we do wrong activities, then what will happen? All of the potency that we get from these benedictions will slowly keep going away. Recently, I know several of us, we had the great fortune to get some association of Srila Radhanath Maharaj. And I know some of the devotees from Bhakti Sangha Japa group also were present there. So, in this association, Maharaj has spoken so many, several lectures. I think three days or so that we got Maharaj's association. Maharaj has spoken very nice points, several nice points. So all of these we have to capture in our heart. First 1 week, all of these instructions will be fresh in our heart. But as time progresses, they will keep fading away. All of us must have experienced this. And why? It is because we are doing some activities that are not pleasing to our acharyas, to our guru. That is why all of the things that we earned by getting the association, they keep fading away. So we have to be very careful. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also that Esham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandam moha nirmukta bhajate mam drudavrata. So he says that Esham tva antagatam papam. Papa karma should stop. And then Esham tva antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam. And that person should have performed pious activities even in this life and in the previous life. The dvandva moha nirmukta. Then such a person will be able to be freed from dvandva moha, the illusion of duality. Then bhajate mam duravrata. Then such a person will be able to perform bhajan with druda, with determination. So the first step is Eshantva Antagatam Papam. We have to stop performing papa, sinful activities. So we have to analyze for ourselves, all of us, what wrong we are doing, and we have to make progress. If we don't analyze and if we continue to do our bhajan in a routine way, then we will not be able to make progress. So the Bhakta Pada Dhuli, Bhakta Pada Jal, Bhakta Bhukta Vasesh, all three are very, very important. Okay, but more important than these three are to follow the instructions and make sure we are not committing anything that is against the scriptures. We have to take advantage of all the benedictions that we get. This Bhakta Pada Dhuli, the remnants of a devotee, the Charnamrita of a devotee, all of these are benedictions for us. All of these are strength for us. These will aid us in progressing in our process of bhakti. But if we don't take advantage, proper advantage, and if we commit activities against the scriptures, then we will not be able to make progress. Actually, the food dust of a devotee is so glorious that even Krishna, he himself walks behind a devotee so he can get the food dust of a devotee. Krishna himself says this, that Nirapeksham munim shantam nirvairam samadarshanam anuvrajami aham nityam. Krishna says anuvrajami aham nityam. He's actually Nityam, always Anuvraja. He's always following. Anuvrajami aham Nityam. I am always following in the footsteps of my devotees, behind my devotees. Why? Puyeyeti iti angri renubihi. So that their Renu, Charana Renu, Angri Renu, their foot dust will purify me. They will fall on me and it will purify me. Actually, our acharyas explain that we know that all the universes reside within the body of Krishna. So what Krishna is trying to say is that by the foot dust of my devotees, I want to purify all the material worlds that reside within me. So by following behind the footsteps of a devotee, the dust from the feet of the devotee will rise and it will fall on Krishna and it will purify the universes that are within Krishna. So that is the greatness of the foot dust of a devotee. And if Krishna himself is saying this, then, we should also take advantage. But then we should not perform wrong activities. As long as we follow the scriptures, as long as we follow the instructions of the devotees, all of these benedictions will help us in progressing. So, Srila Prabhupada, in this verse, Srila Prabhupada gives another meaning also of this verse. This is coming from Madhvacharya. This is coming from Madhvacharya. Srila Madhvacharya, he points out that Lord Krishna is following in the footsteps of his devotees. He is doing that actually to purify the devotees. This is another meaning that is given by one of our acharyas. He says that when Krishna is walking, the dust will rise naturally, right? When somebody is walking, if there is dust, it will rise. So that dust, it will go forward and it will fall on the person who is in the front and it will purify that person who is in the front. So when Krishna is walking behind the devotee is in the front, the dust will rise from the feet of from Krishna and it will fall on the devotee and the devotee will be purified. So this is another meaning that is given by our acharyas. And Srila Prabhupada explains clearly that we cannot explain mundane scientific knowledge for these explanations. We cannot think that why will the dust go front? Why will it not go to the back? All of this logic we should not apply. We should take Shastras as it is, as explained by our acharyas. So both ways. When the dust from the devotee falls on Krishna, Krishna wants to purify the universes within him. And when the dust from lotus feet of Krishna rises and falls on the devotee who's in the front of Krishna, it will purify the devotee. So our goal, is to take advantage of all the benedictions that we have. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the oceanic mercy of Srila Prabhupada, just by getting connected to ISKCON, we get so much mercy. There is so much mercy available in the form of books, in the form of lectures, in the form of our Gurujan, in the form of Mahaprasad, Kirtan, Japa. There's so much mercy that all of us have, and we should take advantage of it. We should not misuse it. We should become serious in our sadhana. We'll go to the next verse. Verse 226. Kona chaitanyera loka nityananda prati manda bole hena deka se kevala stuti. If you find any follower of Lord Chaitanya appear to say something bad about Nityananda, you should know for certain that what he said was actually glorification. A very nice point here. No pure devotee of Gaura can criticize or tolerate criticism against Sri Nityananda Prabhu. If anyone thinks that the statements of Sri Advaita Prabhu towards Sri Nityananda Prabhu were criticisms, that is simply his misunderstanding and offense. One should not lose faith in the lotus feet of Nityananda, who is the only shelter and goal of all living entities. By considering the so-called criticism of Nityananda to be criticism, when it is actually glorification of Nityananda. Okay, we'll read the next verse also, verse 227. Nitya Shuddha Gnanavanta Vaishnava Sakala Tabe Eka Laha Deka Saba Kutuhala. Vaishnavas are always pure and full of knowledge. So if there is ever any quarrel between them, you should know it is simply part of their pastimes. It should be understood that the apparent act of quarreling on the pretext of criticizing Nityananda by the pure devotees of Gaura, headed by Advaita, is meant to awaken the living entity's interest and increase their service attitude towards Nityananda. Because all of Sri Gaura's devotees are eternally pure and endowed with pure transcendental knowledge. Ignorance, such as dualities, aversion, or opposition to Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, cannot remain in them. Two very beautiful verses glorifying Lord Nityananda, and also how instructing how we should understand the apparent criticism of Nityananda Prabhu. We should understand that it is actually glorification. And when two Vaishnavas are quarreling, or it may appear to us that they're quarreling, but actually it is simply their pastimes. So in the verse 226, there is a nice pastime that's being highlighted. We know this pastime, we must have heard this many times, when Advaita Acharya, once he invited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu for honoring prasadam at his place. And at that time, Advaita Acharya and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, they had so many funny dialogue exchanges. Advaita Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, he called Nityananda Prabhu that he's a reject Paramahamsa. And Srila Prabhupada explains there that it is in a way true, because at that time Smartha Brahmanas were very prominent. So in a way it was true, because Nityananda Prabhu was much higher. He's the topmost Vaishnava. Advaita Acharya also called him that you are a mendicant, you eat a lot of food. It is said that Advaita Acharya says that Nityananda Prabhu can eat 10 to 20 manas of rice. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that mana is 40 kilos. So that means Nityananda Prabhu can eat 400 to 800 kilos of rice. So Advaita Acharya says that, I'm a poor Brahmana. I have very little rice to feed. And you eat a lot. You eat 800 kilos, 400 to 800 kilos of rice, and I cannot supply. So just be happy with whatever I'm giving. I cannot feed the quantity that you can eat. And also in that event itself, in that pastime itself, Nityananda Prabhu, at one point, he threw some rice on the floor. And some of the rice grains came and touched the body of Sri Advaita Acharya. And as soon as the Maha Prasad of Nityananda Prabhu touched the body of Advaita Acharya, immediately Advaita Acharya started dancing. He started dancing like a madman. He was in so much ecstasy, and he considered himself to be purified by the touch of the remnants of Nityananda Prabhu. And though he was like that, he was dancing in joy, but then Advaita Acharya jokingly criticized Nityananda Prabhu. Apparent criticism. It is not true criticism. It was a joke. He said that, oh, Nityananda Prabhu, you're a madman. You don't have any proper caste. You don't have any etiquette. And now, with your condition, you are throwing your remnants at me. And by your remnants touching me, I'm a Brahmana. Now, by you throwing your remnants at me, I lost all my Brahmanical qualifications, my Brahmanical regulations. You spoiled all of it for me. So like this, they were having loving exchanges, funny exchanges. So when we see this, we should not really take them as insults. These are just pastimes between two exalted devotees. And Srila Prabhupada explains that Advaitacharya is actually glorifying Nityananda Prabhu. He's not criticizing, he's not insulting. And honestly, without the purport of Srila Prabhupada, it is very difficult to understand what is going on in that pastime. We will easily get confused. And by that, we will start criticizing. We will start finding faults. And that is a dangerous situation to be in. So we'll go to the next verse. Verse 228. Ite eka janera pakshayai anya jane ninda kare kshayaya say. This is a very important verse. If a person takes the side of one Vaishnava and criticizes another, he is certainly vanquished. If a person takes the side of one Vaishnava and criticizes another, he is certainly vanquished. If someone, due to misfortune and material conceptions, considers the loving quarrels of the eternally liberated devotees who are always eager to please Krishna to be like the dualities enjoyed by the conditioned souls who are agitated by disturbances to their sense gratification, and thus takes the side of one and criticizes the other, then as a result of his impudence, his ruination is guaranteed. Without understanding how the most pleasing transcendental opposing parties who nourish the pastimes of the absolute Lord Sri Gaura Krishna are wonderfully increasing their respective attachment for the Lord, if someone praises one and condemns another due to his enjoying spirit and fruitive mentality, he is certainly inviting his own downfall, or in other words, he is ruining himself. So a lot of important points in this from this verse. See, the quarrels of the eternally liberated devotees should not be confused as the quarrels between two conditioned souls. Okay, the conditioned soul is agitated by the disturbances of sense gratification, senses. Due to the agitated, because they are agitated by disturbances caused by sense gratification, they are in duality and they take sides. And if we also apply the same when two exalted devotees are quarreling, then what will happen? Our ruination is guaranteed. Okay, the eternally liberated devotees, they may seem like they're quarreling, but they're only doing that to nourish the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And by quarreling, actually they're increasing their individual attachment to the Lord. So many important points. So in the case of Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Acharya, we may see that they're quarreling, they're speaking ill words towards each other, but actually it is not. They're enjoying loving exchanges, and by doing that, they're actually increasing their own attachment to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this nourishes the whole pastime. They get more attached to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they nourish the whole pastime. That's what devotees are supposed to do. They're not supposed to fight amongst each other and go away from the process or get deviated from the process. Recently, by the mercy of my Guru Maharaj, I got an opportunity to go on a short yatra to Vrindavan Dham. And by the mercy of, again, Guru, Srimati Radharani, Krishna, the Holy Dham, I was able to meet some sadhus, some very senior Vaishnavas. And during my inquiries or conversations with them, they were highlighting one point, that most of the sadhakas, they're not able to make progress because of the aparads, the offenses that one is committing. Whether it may be knowingly or whether it may be unknowingly, the main reason is that we are performing, we are doing aparads, offenses towards the devotees, and that is why we are not able to make progress on the path of bhakti. And we know there are several types of aparad: seva aparad, nam aparad, vaishnava aparad, so many aparads. And among these, the Vaishnava aparad is the topmost, is the most detrimental to our path of bhakti. It is the most dangerous. And we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he calls this offense towards the Vaishnava as Hati Mata. What does that mean? Mad elephant. So when a mad elephant, it enters a farm or a forest or a nice garden, flower garden, what does it do? It will destroy all the plants, trees, whatever it is. It just destroys everything. So an offense to a Vaishnava is like that. An offense to a Vaishnava will destroy our bhakti creeper. So we have to be very careful. And if a devotee is executing all other limbs of the process of bhakti very nicely, but he offends a Vaishnava or his spiritual master, then his devotional service is completely spoiled. It's very difficult to make progress. But the sadhus that I spoke to, they were saying that there are several ways in which we can rectify. One is definitely falling at the feet of a devotee and asking for their forgiveness. If we offend a devotee and if we know, then we should fall at the feet of a devotee, at that devotee, and ask for forgiveness. And if we commit an offense unknowingly, then also there is some prayaschitta that we can perform. But all of these should come from the heart. It should not be mechanical. We should regret for the offenses that we commit, and we should not commit those aparads again. In this context specifically, it is highlighted, criticism is highlighted in verse 228. Criticism is highlighted, and we know the various types of Vaishnava aparad, which is explained again in the Chaitanya Leela. Hanti nindanti vaidveshti Vaishnava nabhinandati krudyate yati no harsham darshane patananishat. So there are 6 types of aparads towards a Vaishnava that we should avoid. And if we don't, then patan, we will fall down. And what are they? Beating a Vaishnava. And then nindanti, criticizing a Vaishnava. Criticism is what is highlighted in the verse 228. Dveshti, disrespect. Vaishnava na abhinandati, not getting angry with a Vaishnava. Disrespecting a Vaishnava. Yati no harshan, if we don't express pleasure, if we don't express happiness, if we don't greet a Vaishnava, all of these, when we see a Vaishnava, we are supposed to greet them. We have to express happiness seeing a devotee. If not, patananishat, such a person will fall down. So these are all the aparads that I know we hear this so many times, but we should try to inculcate them in our life, because the sadhus were clearly highlighting that it is mainly because of Vaishnava aparad is why we are not able to make progress. And then Krishna also says, Yeshantantagatam papam, we should stop sinful activities. So anything that is displeasing to Krishna is a sin. Okay, this is a fundamental. Anything that is displeasing to Krishna is a sin. So whenever we perform any activities, we can analyze, is this pleasing to Guru and Krishna? Then it is okay. If it is not pleasing to Guru and Krishna, that will fall under the papa, sin. And aparad is more higher than a sin. So we should be very careful. And Chaitanya Bhagavata also, we will see that there are so many nice statements that will come up in the future chapters as well. I know we have only 8 more minutes, so I will not go deep into those. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that he will deliver even the most sinful person. But one who commits an aparat to a Vaishnava, he will send them to hellish planets. Like that, Vrindavan Das Thakur glorifies Mahaprabhu, the mercy of Mahaprabhu. We see in Srimad Bhagavatam, the glorification of paying obeisances to Krishna has been highlighted. But unfortunately, if one pays obeisances to Krishna, and if he criticizes a devotee, if he offends a devotee, then such a person has no shelter. And like that, all Shastras also declare that if one may be knowing in all Shastras, but if he offends a Vaishnava, then he will not be delivered. We also hear that the holy name is very merciful, right? That it can destroy all sins one commits, but holy name will not deliver us from the effects of Vaishnava Aparad. Okay, so we have to be very careful. So the solution is that we have to pray sincerely. We have to pray sincerely. We have to regret in our heart, and we have to chant. These were the solutions that they were giving. That we have to really feel that we did a mistake. It should not be mechanical. We should really feel that we did a mistake, and if we repent in our heart, then the Lord will probably, he will bless us, and then increase japa. These were some of the solutions that they were giving. And in this specific section today, it's also highlighted Vaishnava Ninda. Hearing Vaishnava Ninda is also an aparad. So a lot of times when we come in a devotee gathering, sometimes we may hear a devotee talking about another devotee. If it is glorification, it is fine. But if it is not glorification, then if it is Ninda, then, and if we hear, then it will become a Vaishnava Aparad on our part also. So if we don't speak also, let's say if we don't participate in the Vaishnava Ninda, then also we become a Vaishnava Aparadi. So staying quiet and hearing is also Vaishnava Aparad. So our acharyas say that either we should go away from that place, we should defend the other devotee, or we should cut the tongue of the person who is speaking, criticizing the devotee, or we should cut off the head of the person who is speaking ill of a devotee. We don't go to that extremes. And it is said, I was hearing in Srila Gaur Govind Maharaj's lecture, that different levels of people have different, instruction. Like a Kshatriya, I think, is the one who can cut off the head, something like that. So we don't do that. We just walk away from that place, or we speak in favor of the devotee being criticized, if we know enough. If not, we should just leave the place. We can say that, I have another call or I have some other work, something like that, and we should go away from that place. We should not just stay there and just continue to hear. Being neutral in such cases is also considered to be a Vaishnava Aparad. So we have to be very careful. We should guard ourselves, our bhakti. Nobody is going to protect our bhakti lata. We individually ourselves have to protect. We have to strive so that the bhakti lata will continue to grow. And Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita that somebody may be a great sinner, but if he has taken shelter of me, but this person thinks that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and he's trying to do his bhajan, then we should consider him to be a sadhu. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya. This is Krishna's instruction, that such a person, apichet suduracharo, not just durachar. Krishna is saying suduracharo, meaning extremely sinful. Even such a person also, sadhu eva, he's a sadhu. We should consider him to be a sadhu. When? Bhajate mam ananya bhak. If such a person is worshipping the Lord only, such a person should be considered as a sadhu. Even he may be doing some ill activities, but if he is completely dependent on Krishna, surrendered to Krishna, then we should not offend such a person. We should consider him to be a sadhu. And another example that I came across was about Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma, we know the story where once Lord Brahma was chasing his own daughter. And at that time, the 6 sons of Marichi Rishi, they actually saw this and they laughed. They laughed at Lord Brahma. And what happened because of this? They did not do anything. They just laughed at this instance. What happened? They had to take birth in the womb of Mother Devaki, and they had to be killed by Kamsa. So therefore we should be very careful. We must never disrespect a Vaishnava. Whatever state they are in, we should always respect them. We may see some devotees falling away from the movement, or falling from their standards, falling from their ashrama, but still we should not disrespect them. It is between them and Krishna. It is between them and their guru. We are no one to talk, comment, criticize, make fun of another devotee. We have no right. Unless we are their Shiksha Guru or Diksha Guru, we cannot comment on another devotee. So we have to be very careful. And the sadhus were saying that, we should be engrossed in our own life, in our own bhajan, in our own sadhan. We should try to speak more about Krishna rather than speaking of other devotees. If it is glorification, it is fine. But if it is not glorification, then we should only speak of Krishna. And some of the other things they were saying that we should try to be respectful to all living entities, not just the devotees. We should be respectful to all living entities. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you are very merciful. Can you please tell me who should I offer respect to? How do I know who is a devotee, and how do I know to who I should offer respect? Because general tendency is that we should offer respect to devotees, right? For non-devotees, we ignore them. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, actually, all living entities are my servants. All of them are my devotees. It is just that they do not know. So you should offer respect to everyone. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also that Mamay Vamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. All the living entities are my Amsha. So now, knowing that, and then we also hear this verse, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunai, Shavanadi Shuddha Chitta Karaya Udai. The bhakti is there in everyone's heart. It's just that it is in a sleeping state. So when we do bhajan, it will arise, awake. So that means everyone is a devotee actually, but it is covered. So that is why we should be respectful towards everyone. We should not offend. We should try not to offend anyone. Even if it's a non-devotee also, we should try not to offend anyone. So we'll go to the next verse. Verse 229. Nityananda Swarupe se ninda naloya Tana pate takile se Gaura Chandra paya. Very beautiful verse. Anyone who follows Nityananda without finding fault in him will surely attain the shelter of Sri Gaurachandra. If a living entity desiring his own welfare personally engages in the service of Sri Nityananda Prabhu without taking any part whatsoever in criticizing Sri Nityananda Prabhu personally or through others, he can be qualified to receive the mercy of Sriman Mahaprabhu. Simply by following in the footsteps of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, the merciful glance of Sri Gaura is guaranteed. But endeavors to directly or indirectly criticize or diminish Sri Nityananda Prabhu's glories on the pretext of serving him certainly lead one to hell. So I think this verse is summarizing everything, that we cannot attain prema to Sri Sri Radha Krishna without the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. How does it work? So the process is by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, who is the Akhanda Guru Tattva, actually by the mercy of Guru, we get mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. And by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, we get mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we get the mercy of Radha Krishna and loving devotion. So that is why, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it is very important. We hear this song, right? He no bina nitai by Radha Krishna paitenai. So it is very important for us to take shelter of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. If our goal is to attain Radha Krishna Prema Bhakti, then we should take shelter of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. We should not criticize, we should not offend devotees, we should be very respectful to everyone. We should always glorify other devotees. We should not take part in any criticism or offenses. One beautiful verse, I think I may have quoted this verse before also, that we should always, there's only two things: always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. If we don't remember Krishna, that means we are forgetting Krishna, that means we are in Maya. So there's a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam. It says, Avismriti Krishna Padara Vindayo Kshinoti Abhadrani Chasham Tanoti Satvasva Suddhim Paramatma Bhaktim Gnanam Cha Vignana Viraga Yuktam. So Avismriti Krishna Padara Vindayo. By remembering the lotus feet of Krishna, Smriti means to remember, Vismriti means to forget, but here it is Avismriti. Avismriti Krishna Padara Vindayo. By remembering the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Kshinoti Abhadrani. All the hurdles, all the difficulties will be destroyed. Kshinoti Abhadrani Chasham Tanoti. All auspiciousness will be bestowed. Satvasva Shuddhim. Purity will be established. Our consciousness will become pure. Satvasva Shuddhim Paramatma Bhaktim. Bhakti to Lord Krishna will awaken. And then Gnanam, Vignanam, Viraga. All these three will awaken. Knowledge, realization, and then detachment. All of this will naturally awaken. Only one thing we have to do. What is that? Remember. Remember Krishna, the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So we have to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Anything that we are doing, we have to somehow bring it in connection with Krishna. That way we are connected to Krishna and we are not away from Maya. We are away from Maya. If we are not remembering Krishna, Maya is right there to capture us. So we have to be very careful in our activities, what we are doing. We have to go deeper in our bhajan, in our sadhana, become very sincere, chant our rounds nicely, perform whatever limbs we are performing, perform them very nicely, so that we can all make the best use of our time, make best use of the opportunity that Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Maharaj has given us, and make progress in our bhakti. Thank you all. With this, I will end the session here. Thank you all once again for giving me this opportunity to speak some Harikatha and purify myself. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Guru Maharaj ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. If there are any questions, we can take a few questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for such a beautiful class. Very, very instructive class, Prabhu. Always there are so many instructions coming from the speakers. Very, very nice. Hope I will able to follow those instructions. Hare Krishna Prabhu, there is one chat question. We will take
Yes,
that.
Mataji.
Yeah. So Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for the nectarian class. One question as mentioned in the Apichet Suduracharo, if a person is pure devotee, surrendered to Krishna, and if he loves Krishna, then how can he be engaged in evil or abominable activities?
So in this, so Acharya has explained in various ways. One of the things is, it is not a pure devotee. The person is not a pure devotee yet, but he's performing bhajan ananya bhak. For him, he does not have any anya. He does not have anything other than Krishna. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. He is performing bhajan of Sri Krishna only. But due to whatever the circumstances may be, due to whatever the condition, whatever the situation may be, one may perform some bad activities. Krishna is cautioning us. Even in such case also, as long as one is continuing to perform devotion to Krishna, devotional service to Krishna exclusively, such a person still should be considered as a sadhu, because Krishna says in the next verse, he says, Kshpram bhavati dharmatma. Very soon, such a person will become dharmatma. Okay, so that's why it's not a pure devotee. That's one thing that we have to understand. It's a person who is practicing bhajan, but he's practicing bhajan exclusively to Krishna. He does not have any other shelter. He's exclusively worshipping Krishna only, but due to whatever condition, whatever situation, he may perform some durachar. In here, Krishna is clearly saying sudurachar, very most abominable activity. But as long as he is performing bhajan only to Krishna, we should still consider him as a sadhu. So we see in our general history of ISKCON or other sampradaya also, there are sadhakas or devotees who may have performed some bad activity. They may have left the movement, but they continue to worship Krishna, and eventually they come back. And anyone who offended such a person actually fell and deviated and left the movement. So we have to be very careful. As long as the person is worshipping Krishna, we should not criticize. Even if the person is not practicing Krishna bhakti, still we should not criticize. Who are we to criticize? Right? We should be worried about our own faults. We should be worried about our own sadhana. We should be worried about our goal, reaching our goal. We should not worry about others. We should not think of whether another person is performing bhajan properly or not, whether another person is doing any abominable activities. It is between them and Krishna. We may not take instruction from such a person, but we should consider such a person to be devotee. Like I was saying in that instruction from Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu is saying everyone, Sakala Jagata. He says Sakala Jagata, I'm not able to recollect that verse. Mahaprabhu says that consider everyone to be my devotee. Everyone is my das, and act accordingly. So even if somebody performs sudurachar, especially if he is performing bhajan of Krishna exclusively, we should definitely respect such a person. And even if he is not performing bhajan exclusive to Krishna, we should still respect such a person, because we don't know what will happen to that person in the future. He may become a great devotee, and the sin of offending that devotee will follow us. So that's why we have to be careful. Like in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, we see that happen specifically. So hopefully that answers your question, Mataji. I think that is from Parima Mataji. Hopefully that answers.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you so much for the nice clarification, Prabhu. Thank you. Dandavat pranams.
Thank you, Parima Mataji, for your question and beautiful answer, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. We don't know who's going to be what in future, so better give respect to everyone. Not underestimate anyone that thinking that we are great devotee. And one more point is, like, instead of changing others, let us change ourselves. We have a lot of mistakes. Instead of pointing others, we first check ourselves. That was really very nice, Prabhuji. Is there anybody having any more questions for Prabhuji? Realizations, questions? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna ji, Sachi Gaur Pran Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Gopinath ki jai. As usual, Prabhuji, very, very inspiring class. You had such a nice point. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. First, we have to see our side, कि हमारे अंदर कितने faults है. पापा हमेशा बताते थे कि everybody has a 60% good quality and 40% bad quality. So when we point out the first finger, the forefinger is from our side. So we should not criticize any Vaishnava, क्योंकि हमें नहीं पता है कि वो लास्ट वर्ष में कितने बड़े वैष्णव थे और अभी he is in a process or she is in a process. So touch to heart, and I have always seen that you and Mataji are so sincerely here at Adi Katara Prabhu, at Amindra Prabhu class, especially big tray. You both are making prasadam when Haridas is 1 year old, and now Haridas also playing such a nice mridanga and get a seva of HHI Pitaka Maharaj. Mataji, I am engaged in Maharaj seva. Such a 5 years Haridas determination because of the parents' sincerity. Koti Dandavat Pranam to your sincere seva. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Sri Radha Gopinath ki jai. Please give your association and blessing to all of us, and give regularly your association to all. And in a Bhakti Sangha, Hari Hari Gauranga. Dandavat Beta.
Thank you so much, Mataji. It's all mercy of devotees like you, blessings of devotees like you, that we are able to do whatever little we are doing, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
There is one more chat message. Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a nectarian class. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Smriti Mataji and Shivani Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for very nectarian class. Please give your association more often. Thank you for your wonderful association. Hari Bol. Shivani Mataji. Yeah, is there any more questions, realizations before we close the call? If there are no more realizations, we can close the call here. Thank you once again, Prabhuji, for your such a beautiful class. I would like to offer my obeisances to Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu bhyeva chakritana pavanebhyo namo namah. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai His Grace Sacipran Gaurahari Prabhuji ki jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for joining today's class. Join us tomorrow. Hari Bol.
Hari.
Bol Kamadiki Mataji. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.